air traffic controller in Mzuzu, Mr. Moyo. A copy of the message from the late Keno Sambalopa has also been attached in my submission, and I've marked it K6. I accordingly approached the air traffic controller and inquired when the aircraft was expected to arrive. He informed me that the aircraft had not yet landed, possibly due to adverse weather conditions, as visibility at the airport was extremely poor on that day. I thereafter left the sealed parcel containing 5 million with the air traffic controller in accordance with Keno Sambalopa's instructions. I subsequently proceeded to Chijere village in Kadabe to attend the funeral of the late senior counsel. While at the funeral in Chijere village and Kadabe, at approximately 1100 hours, while waiting for the funeral proceedings to commence, I received a phone call from the then Air Force commander informing me that Mike Alpha Foxtrot Tango 03, which had transported the vice president, had not arrived in Mzuzu, and that efforts to establish its whereabouts were underway. He informed me that the inquiries had already been made with nearby airports, including Likoma and Karonga in Malawi, Mbeya in Tanzania, Chipata and Rundazi in Zambia, and Lichinga in Mozambique. However, he specifically requested that I keep this information confidential, as search and verification efforts were still underway to determine the aircraft's whereabouts and establish the circumstances surrounding its disappearance. However, given that the commencement of the funeral program depended on the arrival of the vice president, and considering that I had earlier spoken to Mr. Valera regarding the proposed use of the aircraft, I considered it appropriate to inform him that the aircraft had not yet arrived in Mzuzu and that efforts were underway to establish its whereabouts. Approximately 1 hour later, the then Air Force commander contacted me again and advised that the aircraft had not been located. I asked whether the aircraft had sufficient fuel for the intended flight, to which he responded affirmatively. About an hour later, I contacted the Air Force commander again to inquire whether any progress had been made in locating the aircraft. He informed me that it had still not been found, and observed that based on the fuel endurance, the aircraft ought by then to have been on the ground. Recognizing the urgency of the situation, I asked the Air Force commander whether it be appropriate to seek external assistance in locating the aircraft, given the limited search capabilities then available. The Air Force commander indicated that such assistance would indeed be appreciated. I therefore reached out to Major Benjamin Snyder, the security liaison officer at the United States Embassy here in Lilongwe, whom I knew professionally. Informally, I requested Major Snyder assistance in locating the aircraft. Major Snyder requested basic details of the flight, and I informed him that the military aircraft had departed Lilongwe from Mzuzu in the morning of that day. He advised that this information was sufficient to initiate efforts to locate the aircraft. I also informed Mr. Namizinga that the aircraft, which had been chartered by the late Mr. Kasambara's family, had been utilized to transport the vice president and had not yet arrived in Mzuzu. Therefore, I advised Mr. Namizinga that the aircraft was unfortunately not available for the family's return trip to Blantyre on that day as planned, and I also requested Mr. Namizinga whether he would be able to make alternative transport arrangements to go back to Blantyre. He confirmed that he would do so, and we agreed to remain in communication regarding subsequent developments. Honorable Chair, honorable members, later that day, while at the cemetery, prior to the interment, I asked the Minister of Defense, the then Minister of Defense, Honorable Harem Kandawire, whether he had received any information concerning the aircraft carrying the Vice President. He responded that he was aware that the aircraft had not yet landed, but was still seeking further information. I informed him that according to the Air Force commander, the aircraft's whereabouts remained unknown. Following the interment ceremony of the late Honorable Mr. Kasambara, I departed for Lilongwe. En route, I passed through Mzuzu Airport and collected the sealed envelope containing 5 million kwacha, which I had earlier left with the air traffic controller there, as it had not been collected by Keno Sambalopa. After collecting the money, I duly informed the Air Force commander of the development. On Tuesday, the 11th of June 2024, at approximately 1100 hours, the Air Force commander called me to inform me that the troops from 101 Brigade in Mzuzu, assisted by the Malawi Police Service, had located the aircraft wreckage. He further informed me with deep regret that there were no survivors. Upon receiving this tragic information, I telephoned Mr. Valera to ascertain his whereabouts and advise him to prepare himself for the worst. Shortly thereafter, the government officially announced that the aircraft carrying the Vice President had crashed in Ntungwa, Chikangawa forest, and that all those on board had tragically lost their lives. Honorable Chairperson, honorable members, on Thursday, the 13th of June, 2024, the Air Force commander instructed me to deposit 2,125,000 kwacha into the Malawi Air Force account, explaining that the funds represented allowances due to the crew and would be paid to their respective families. I complied with those instructions, and the corresponding deposit slip is attached to my submission chair, and I've marked it K7. When I asked what I should do with the remaining funds, the then Air Force commander advised that he would provide further guidance. And after I noted that the Board of Inquiry in the Malawi Defense Force, the Commission of Inquiry that was constituted by government, had concluded without addressing the outstanding balance, Chair, I transferred the remaining 2,875,000 kwacha to Mr. Namizinga, who had been responsible for administering the funds on behalf of the late Mr. Kasambara's family. Mr. Namizinga acknowledged receipt of the funds, and a copy of that acknowledgement, together with my conversation with him throughout the charter period, has been attached to my written submission, and I've marked it K8. Honorable Chairperson, honorable members, in conclusion, I respectfully submit that my involvement in the entire matter was, as you may have noted, strictly administrative, facilitative, and undertaken in good faith within the established military coordination procedures for humanitarian and funeral support purposes. Honorable Chair, I wish to underscore that my involvement in matters relating to the military aircraft was strictly limited to facilitation upon request by friends and colleagues of the late Honorable Mr. Raphael Kasambara, who approached me seeking assistance in conveying a humanitarian request to the Malawi Defense Force. In each instance, Honorable Chair, Honorable Members, I immediately referred the matter to the appropriate military command structures and acted in accordance with the instructions and authorizations received from duly constituted military authorities. My role, Chair, did not extend beyond communication and coordination between civilian stakeholders and the relevant military authorities for the purpose of enabling decision-making within established chain of command. With respect to financial matters, I did not handle any funds in any discretionary or independent capacity. All funds were received, transmitted, and deposited strictly in accordance to the express instructions issued by authorized Air Force authorities. I ensured that such funds were directed to the designated accounts as communicated by competent military authorities without deviation or personal discretion. Furthermore, Chair, honorable members, in relation to the search of the missing aircraft, I only made contact with professional acquaintances in an effort to support emergency efforts, and only after being informed by the Air Force commander that the aircraft could not be located through established military channels. The assistance was purely supplementary, undertaken in good faith, and did not involve any operational command, control, or coordination in search activities. Honorable Chairperson, honorable members, I express my deepest sorrow over the tragic loss of the Vice President, senior government officials, the former First Lady, and my colleagues, the senior military officers who died on the 10th of June, 2024. Honorable Chairperson, honorable members, I submit with utmost respect. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you, Brigadier General, for your elaborate presentation. Probably one of the most detailed we have received so far, and makes life easier for members to ask questions that are very direct. I will allow members to ask you further questions, whether to seek clarification or to probe further. May I open the floor to members? Doa Kasangazi.
Thank you very much, Chair. First of all, I think I should also declare that I know Professor Wali as a professional colleague. He's a lawyer by profession. I have a few questions, Prof. The first question is, when did you travel to Nzuzu to attend the funeral of Rafu Kasambara, SEC?
You want me to respond now?
Yeah.
Okay, on the morning of 10th of June in the year of 2024, Honorable MP.
And which route did you use to get to Nzuzu from Lilongwe?
I used the Mzimba route via Chikangawa to Nzuzu.
Prof, I would like to find out what the weather was like in Chikangawa as you were traveling to Nzuzu.
Honorable Chair, you are assuming that I was awake by the time I was getting to Mzuzu. Yeah, so yes, I noticed that the weather was bad. As a matter of fact, I slept a good part of the trip, but when I was approaching Chikangawa, just because the driver was driving slow, I had to wake up. And when I reached Mzuzu, I was told by colleagues who were actually family members who were at the funeral that I had to bring an umbrella because the weather was really bad that day.
My last question is on the BFU report. I am of the view that you read the report, Prof.
In passing, yes, I did, Your Honorable Member.
The BFU report reached the conclusion that the accident in which the aircraft was involved was largely caused by bad weather. What was your reaction when you read the conclusion that the BFU report reached?
Chair, you asking my opinion? I mean, that was their opinion, and I took it as they gave it.
Chair, that is all from me.
So a hand from the Takasina.
Thank you so much, Chair, for giving opportunity to the Takasina to ask questions. I have a few questions. I'll ask it very briefly. If need be, I'll come back later. Good morning, Prof.
Good morning, Honorable Member.
I want to take you to your presentation, and this morning I want to start on the page 5, bid number 2. Mr. Varela informed you that the commander had authorized the use of aircraft. Did he? I have in mind the page, the bid number 3, where he had asked you which commander you know and everything. Did he really say which commander? Apart from saying no, apart from you advising him to go through the Air Force commander, but did he say which commander had authorized?
Honorable Member, thank you. Like I indicated in my submission and also in my oral presentation, he did not specify which commander. In any event, he asked me how many commanders I knew, and I told him that with regard to the Vice President traveling on a military aircraft, there were 3 commanders who were relevant at that time. So after our conversation with the Air Force commander, we did not dwell back on which commander authorized the use of the aircraft.
All right. Then free chair, I wanted to go to your bid number 8, where you are saying, in the light of foregoing, you made it explicitly clear to both Mr. Valera and Mr. Castle Chuka George Mali that you not participate in or facilitate arrangements setting the Vice President's travel because your involvement was restricted to Mr. Kasambala. I'm made to believe that you have been following the proceedings of this ad hoc committee, and maybe you had an opportunity to listen to the presentation which Mr. Joshua Valera made, and the same will correspond to what Chair witness Mr. Dr. Latha Lake Kanyamula-Skwese made. More especially, I'm interested on the page 4 of presentation of Dr. Skwese, Chair. Allow me to read to Prof. So that he can hear it. Mr. Valera, that is now Dr. Skwese, when he called Mr. Valera, and then Mr. Valera informed Dr. Skwese that he was with 2 relatives, in brackets, Castle Mwale and Brigadier General Kuwali. And these duly confirmed that it was possible for the Vice President to use the aircraft. Can you confirm? Because this is what Dr. Squese made and presented to this committee, saying it was possible, and that was made by you and Castle Chikangawa. But your presentation, breed number 8, so to breed number 8, where you have said, it's on page 6 on your presentation. You have said you made it known to them that you're not going to participate, and even if I take it to the same page, bread number 6, you expressed the view that it was impracticable. But then Dr. Squeste says you and Carson Chuka, you had given a permission that it was practicable. Which is which, Prof?
Thanks so much, Honorable Member. So, number one, I haven't really been following the developments in this inquiry for several reasons. First is the fact that I knew that someday I might be required to testify, so I didn't want to be influenced by any testimonies that were given. Secondly is, it happens during working day and we have other things to do, but I do understand important work, Honorable Chair, Honorable Members, that you are carrying. With regards to your specific question, Honorable Member, obviously Dr. Sekwese's testimony with regards to what happened is hearsay. So I don't know how you take that. Number two, Chair, Honorable Members, is that I may have been included in the aspect of relatives of the late Honorable Mr. Kasambara, but that is not correct. What is correct, Honorable Member, is that their approaching me was because I was coordinating between the colleagues and friends of the late Senior Counsel with the Malawi Defense Force. To an extent, I may be regarded as a relative just because Counsel Mchuka, George Mwale, and myself are related. We are cousins. We are cousins. So that's number one. Number two, our villages in Katabe, my village, between my village and the late Senior Counsel's village, we have Counsel Mchuka Mwale's village in between. So we are basically neighbors. But my involvement in the procurement of the military aircraft was not because I'm a relation or I have been a relation to Mr. Kasambara. My involvement was because, it's unfortunate Honorable Konyongo cannot testify, but it's because number one, I was at the funeral home, and number two, I am probably the gentleman who they knew, being a counsel myself, and also being someone who was mentored by the late Senior Counsel.
So, Chair, I hear you, Prof, and I 100% following you. Can you help us to know who authorized on behalf of the family the use of the flight to
Sorry, and can I supplement to the earlier question so we can exhaust it clear? You did advise, and you've said that it was practically impossible, and you were surprised why that flight was taking place. Were you surprised when you heard that the plane had crashed, or the plane was missing?
First, you said I was surprised, Chair. I did
No, no,
not
no,
say
no,
that I
no,
was
no.
surprised.
I want you to confirm. Were you surprised? Were you surprised when you heard that the plane was missing?
You know, so this information was coming piecemeal in the sense that first, the Air Force commander told me that the plane had not landed. But Chair, you should also remember that when I was handing over the money to the air traffic controller, he indicated that the visibility was not good in Mzuzu, was actually bad. And when he told me, of course, there was a sense that probably it was because of the weather. So that may not have come as a surprise because of the weather at that day, or on that day.
So I was asking the question because you had indicated challenges with the time frame. When you heard that there was a VVI flight that was booked, and when you looked at the time frame and your conversations on the flight of late Raf Kasambala, you said it was practically impossible because of the time frame. That's why I'm asking you, were you surprised?
Chair, if you look at my script, I said it was not possible to allow, it could have happened, the VP could have come to Mzuzu, but now that could have disrupted the Kasambara family going back to Blantyre, because Major Kalinga had advised that the expected time of departure should not be later than 2:30 in the afternoon. So obviously, if we slotted in the VP's itinerary in between, that could have pushed that could have actually disrupted the return trip to Blantyre. I hope that answers your question, Honorable Chair.
Yes, you have. Were you disappointed that they ignored your advice?
Who ignored my advice, Honorable Chair?
When you expressed the view that it was impracticable.
Was that an advice, Chair?
Well, it was your view. It could be your view or your advice. It was your view. So were you?
You've answered the question, Chair.
So were you disappointed that your view?
Why should I be disappointed, Chair?
Okay.
I think on the surprise, Brigadier General, on 3.2, bullet number 2, you said upon my arrival, I guess this is in Mzuzu, I did not see aircraft MAF Tango 03. Just to expand on what the chair is saying on the surprise, were you expecting to see the MAF Tango 03 at that time?
Yes, obviously, because look, my late colleague Keno Sambalopa had told me that I need to give him the money in Mzuzu. So my expectation was that I'll meet him in Mzuzu. Thanks, Honorable Member.
So, in other words, because we're expecting to see the plane was not there, we are asking, were you surprised?
I don't think surprise is the right word, Chair, but my view is that I could have, if I was surprised, I could have said it in my statement. Keno Sambalopa wrote me a text, as I indicated. I think I've mentioned the time. He flew to Kia, and at that time, actually I saw the text message when I saw that there was no aircraft, so I knew that there was a development.
There's a Casina. You have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chair. Prof, I also want to get your opinion. When you made it clear to Mr. Varela and Carson Chikangawa that you not participate in the facilitation of the flights to be used for the Vice President because your role was strictly helping the Kasambara family. During that conversation, who gave in on behalf of the family of the Kasambara that the flight can be used to ferry the vice president?
I'm not aware. I'm not aware. Remember, I said in my submission that I had advised then Major Kalinga to liaise with Mr. Baxton Namizinga on the passenger manifest and the departure times. My role was just coordinating to link the family and authorities in the Malawi Defense Force. So I don't know what happened afterwards.
I'm asking that, Chair. I get you, Prof. But as I earlier on said, when Mr. Valela came and testified in this before this committee on 18th June 2026, in his submission, Chair, on page the last page of his submission on bullet number 5. He clearly said General Ishmael of Air Force Commander advised him that the family should approve temporary release of the aircraft to be used by the VP. And he said he contacted the family members for their approval. And when he was asked before this committee, Chair, it's on the record, which family members, he mentioned you and Castle Chukamari. That's why I'm still insisting to know, if you didn't participate, was it maybe Castle Chukamari who gave, because there's no mention of Mr. Namizinga in the testimony of Mr. Valera. Did you at any point hear or participate or hear Castle Chukamari giving him the permission to use this flight to come back to Lulonga and carry the vice president?
Negative, honorable member.
Chair, maybe we might take note of that as a committee, because as we go on with our all right, fine. Now let's go to the events on the day of flights and loss of contract. Prof, you have on your bridge 3, you approach the control tower. Okay, let's go. I will still take back to the question, the submitted question to the chair and the vice chair, where we put forward to you, because I had also written something down here. Upon my arrival, I don't see aircraft MAF T03. However, I observed Vice President's official motor vehicle MG2 together with other official vehicles are not parked at the airport. When you check your mobile, that's when you get a message from Ken Sambalopa sent at 6:49 that he was departing for Kamuzu International Airport. Prior to this, when you're going to Zuzu Airport, the agreement was you're going to find Ken Sambalopa at the airport, or he had earlier on indicated that he was meant to fly to Lilongwe that morning.
Yeah, honorable member, you see that the conversation with the late Keno has been exhibited in my statement. When he told me at that time, I think, like I said, it was 06:42 in the morning, when he said that he's leaving for Kia. And the instructions were that I should leave the parcel with Mr. Moyo, the air traffic controller. But before that, we had agreed that we'll meet in Zuzu. So already there was a development that he had to go to Kia.
Yeah, I hear you. My question is the area developments. You're going to meet in Zuzu. Did he specifically, you're going to find him at the Zuzu airport or in Zuzu? Because I'm mindful of you are on the submission where you're putting the KD3, the pro forma invoices for Sunbed Zuzu Hotel. Meaning you knew that this clause is going to be at the Zuzu Sunbed Hotel. Why did you specifically go straight to Zuzu Airport? My question is, did you had earlier on agreed that you're going to meet at Zuzu Airport?
Negative, but considering that he was flying Mike Alpha Foxtrot Tango 03, and obviously the aircraft would be at the airport, so my gut feeling was that I had to go to the airport.
All right. So you just went there because he was flying the flight, even though you knew that he was supposed to be at Nzu's Sunbed, Nzu's hotel. All right, fine. Let's go to your bullet number 3. When you get to the airport, air traffic controller, who you inquired to, told you that no, the aircraft is yet to land, possibly due to adverse weather conditions, as visibility at the airport was extremely poor. This observation, can you confirm to me, was this your observation, or it was a word from the airport controller?
It was Mr. Moyo, the air traffic controller.
What was your observation of the weather?
I already indicated to council.
So what I want is your village is in Kadabe. I'm meant to believe that you travel a lot to that side. Maybe you can differentiate on a normal day the weather of that day and the other days. Was it adversely bad?
I would testify for that specific day because I wasn't there on the 9th, I wasn't there on the 11th, but that day was particularly bad.
All right. So now the Air Force commander has indicated to you in confidence that the flight has not yet landed in Zuzu. They have activated the search into the neighboring airports and the nearest airports. He has told you to keep that confidential. Correct? He told you to keep it confidential, correct?
Yes, he actually told me it was for my ears only.
But as a as a council, you still proceeded to alert several individuals. I mean, this is the confidential.
Not several, but one. And I indicated the reason why I did that. I had to do some thinking, so I had to use discretion.
Bullet number 5. An hour later, I'm interested to know approximately what time was it. An hour later, you contacted to inquire whether the progress on the flight. I'll go to the last sentence. Based on its fuel endurance, the aircraft ought by then to have been on the ground. That's where I'm interested. What time was this?
Honorable member, honorable chair, because I can't remember exactly, and unfortunately I was going through my phone conversations and that specific item was not indicated. I think because I changed phones and the call log with General Ishmael is not there. Otherwise, I could have also exhibited it in my submission. So because I'm not very sure of the time, that's why I said about an hour later. So if you look at the sequence, we had about 3 phone calls from 11-ish to maybe around 3-ish.
Okay. Now, I want you to confirm to me on the bullet number 6.
Yes, like I said, I'm worried that you will exhaust all the questions of the others.
Yeah, Chair, let me just ask one.
Okay.
I'll come. I said I have a number of them. I might come in later if you indulge as the chair. But let's just go to bullet number 10. Your conclusion. That following the interment of Honorable Kasambala, you departed for Lilongwe. En route, you went to Nzuzu to collect the money, and then off you go to Lilongwe. I want to know. I have 2 questions on this one. What time was this when you are leaving for Lilongwe? And as a senior MDF officer, you are one of your assets in the military is missing, and you never did you participate in the search, or you just thought of just coming straight to Lilongwe?
Yeah, that's a good question, honorable member. At that time, at the time I was leaving Nkatabe, Chijere village, I was not aware where the aircraft was. So there was no way I could have started searching. From where, Chair?
No, not searching, but I think you are in contact with the people, and you know. That's why I was asking, what time were you passing through Chikangawa? That time were people already searching? You just chose to proceed, or that time there was no any activity happening along that area?
I wasn't aware of what was happening at that time, and my last conversation with the Air Force commander was I can't remember, maybe 3, and then I knew he was busy. I couldn't have been bothering him with phone calls, and unfortunately I did not even get in touch with my colleagues in the Defense Force to find out what was happening, because it was beyond my paycheck.
Chair, that's all from the Zagasena for now.
You can keep some of the questions if you still have them. Yeah. Who's next? Nkadabe North.
Chair, thank you for giving people of Nkadabe North to ask maybe 2 questions. Prof, good morning.
Morning, Honorable Member.
Yeah, I'm also coming from Nkadabe, Chair, maybe for the interest of it. So, but he's not my voter, but we are neighbor. Yeah, thank you. Prof, I've got 1 question or 2. My question is concerning about Bruet, chapter 7, page 7, not chapter 7, page 7, Bruet 3.3. Why are the funeral in Chijele village in Nkadabe at approximately 11 hours? Why waiting for the funeral proceeding to commence? I hope you were there until the funeral was finished. Would you please maybe remember the time, starting time for the funeral? Commencement or the funeral, it was at what time? Approximate.
Honorable Member, I wish I remembered, yeah? But I maybe it was around midday, I can't remember exactly. Because, you know, you've received a message about an aircraft missing, and then you tend to lose touch with what is happening on the ground, and I wasn't even looking at the watch at that time.
Okay, another question was the same concerning the time. So if you don't remember, my question was again, by the time I was meeting the Honorable Halum Kandawile, informing him about the missing of the aircraft, would you remember again the time?
I wouldn't remember the time. What I remember was that it was at the cemetery.
Okay, Chair, thank you. My intention was to know the time where by these activities was starting and the meeting time. Thank you.
Mwanza Central.
Thank you very much, Chair. Prof, on page 8, on your submission, bullet number 7, you reached out to Major Benjamin Snyder at the U.S. Embassy seeking for assistance. You gave him some details, and he confirmed that they were sufficient to initiate efforts to locate the aircraft. Did he come back to you with any information after you had spoken to him to say, or did you follow up with him?
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Honorable Member. Unfortunately, he did not come back to me after I had sent him the request.
You sent him a request. He did not come back to you, knowing how important this agency, or how advanced they are. Did you at some point remembered to check with him to say, Have you found anything?
Honorable member, you may recall on that day, when I asked Major Snyder for, informally, when I asked him for assistance, we had to put all hands on deck, time of the essence at that time. And when it became public that the aircraft was missing, even by the time I was asking Major Snyder, I had received one or two text messages from colleagues and others asking whether the information they got was true. So we were in a state of chaos, and now later the government had taken over. I mean, the military had taken over. Also, the government had indicated that I think there was a. We know the developments that happened, that they had located a signal somewhere in Chikangawa, and then it was a whole of society approach search.
Chair, you spoke to the Air Force commander who allowed you to use other, to communicate or get assistance from other stakeholders. Did you probably revert to those agencies and get an update at any point? And if at all you did, on the 10th, what were the updates?
Remember, Chair, you already posed that question to me. I said I only contacted one person, and one person was Major Snyder, and I think I've addressed that question, Honorable Member.
Chair, for now, let me stop there. I'll come back.
Zomba City South.
Thank you so much, Chair. Brigadier General, I have one or two questions. I understand you went to Nkatabe to bury your friend, and also someone who was coming from your area in Nkatabe. But this was a military funeral, so I know that there are a lot of army officials there. Would you maybe alert us in terms of who was the the highest ranking officer at that funeral?
Chair, unfortunately I can't remember. But what I remember is that I saw a police officer, now IG, Mr. Richard Luhanga was there. I know there was a military officer, but I can't remember exactly who it was. I can't remember exactly who it was.
You follow chain of command in the military. So when you are there, you could actually see who was above you or who was below you. Is that correct?
Precisely, precisely.
So my question was, who was above you at that funeral, the military?
I can't remember having saluted anyone from the military at that time, meaning I must have been the most senior on the ground. But I went in my personal capacity.
Thank you so much, Brigadier General. Now, having been informed that the aircraft carrying the second citizen was missing, and you have got your men in the north, did you, as a most senior person at that time in the north, did you maybe make any instructions? Because you guys follow chain of command. I'm sure nobody below you at that time could start issuing instructions. Did you make any orders, having spoken to to the commander?
Chair, honorable members, it is not correct that I was the most senior at that time in the North. With regards to chain of command, the most senior at that time was my friend and my colleague, Brigadier General Richard Chagonapanja. He was the commander of 101 Brigade. So he was the one who was at the helm of chain of command in that regard. And when I realized that, when I heard that the aircraft, a signal was located in Chikangawa, I got in touch with General Chagonapanja to find out on the progress of the search. That was later.
So you are saying that General Chagonapanja was not at the funeral, but he was in the North. Is that correct?
You asked me, okay, so at that time, General Chagonapanja, I was senior to General Chagonapanja at that time. Does that answer your question, Chair?
You are confusing me.
At the funeral, I said negative. Now, you put it to me that I was the most senior in the northern region, and I said negative. In terms of chain of command, I was not in the chain of command. In terms of chain of command, the one who was leading the troops was General Chagonapanja, Brigadier General Chagonapanja. So he was the one who had control, command and control of the troops, and not me. So we are talking about different things there.
Thank you very much. I'll still ask, because you are the most senior in the North.
Negative. Not in the North. The most senior officer in the North at that time was Brigadier General Chagonapanja. He was the one who was giving orders. If I gave an order to a soldier, because I was out of the chain of command, I couldn't actually give an order unless it is probably on something else.
I hear you, Brigadier General. So I'll move on. I asked the area about page number 7, bullet number 3.2. I think we discussed that already when I was asking that you did not see the aircraft. But I want to continue from there. I see that your submission is devoid of time. I don't know why. But can I ask you, what was the time you arrived at the airport?
It is not correct to say that my submission, Chair, is devoid of time. I've actually attached exhibits with timelines. So I think we should depart on that understanding, Chair. In terms of my arrival at Mzuzu Airport, I can't remember exactly, but probably it was around just after 8 o'clock, I think.
Just after 8 o'clock. We discussed this, Brigadier General, already. You said I did not see the aircraft. And then I asked the area, were you surprised? And you remember what you responded. And when you went to the air traffic controller, he also gave you time that maybe the flight was supposed to arrive there. And he told you that he suspected that because of the bad weather, that's why it had not landed at that time. So are you sure you arrived at around 8 o'clock?
All right, no, I think you're right. Good thing is that I've mentioned that I was in company of Mr. Serafin Konje, who was, I think, late all the time. He should know the time that we arrived in Mzuzu. And I was also with now Staff Sergeant Banda, who was driving. I'm sure he should know the time we got to Mzuzu. And I'm sure Mr. Moyo, he should know the time he received the money. You know, you don't expect something happening, you don't look at the clock all the time. And I told you that I had just woken up because I had a deep slumber, so I wasn't paying attention to the time. But it's unfortunate that again my colleague with Keno Sambalopa cannot be retrieved. I could have been able to figure out the time from there.
Brigadier General, that tells me that maybe in this presentation we shouldn't pay much attention to the times because you are sleeping, you woke up later, and 8 o'clock you're confusing with 10 o'clock. Maybe the times we should not pay much attention, as you have said, isn't it?
It's up to you. I told you that if you have to look at the specific times, I have conversations in there which I have attached.
Thank you very much. Moving on, Brigadier General. In Blantyre, I think when you made your view that it was practically impossible for that arrangement to be made for the craft also to carry the second citizen, you did say that you distanced yourself to say, no, I'm not taking part in that. I think I heard you correctly. Can you confirm?
I can confirm that it was in Lilongwe, not Blantyre.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much.
But what was the question? I wanted to
clarify. I'm coming there now.
Okay.
Give me some time. So you distanced yourself from participating in the second procurement of this flight. So I noticed that after Mr. Moyo told you that the plane had not arrived, maybe due to bad weather, I noticed that you did not do anything until when you got a call at 11 o'clock after you had arrived at Jijere village. Were you also distancing yourself from finding out what was happening to this flight, where it was?
Chair, honorable members, remember my role. I was not in charge of flying the aircraft. I was not in charge of commanding the aircraft. My role, like I've indicated, was just to facilitate between the Kasambara family and the Malawi Defense Force. So whatever was happening to the aircraft was to a great extent beyond my control. I went to Nkadabe for the funeral and not to be looking at the aircraft.
No, I think that's fine. So meaning that whatever has happened to this flight was secondary. I think you went there for a funeral. Although you started contacting Major Benjamin Snyder at a certain point, but that was secondary. I take that. Finally, Chair.
No. On the same point. Brigadier General, was the former Vice President, late, your good friend?
Chair, the same question can be posed in reverse, whether you are my good friend.
When was the last time you spoke to the former Vice President?
I last spoke to the former Vice President, Chair. I can't remember the exact day, but I think it was in May when he attended a Rotary meeting at BICC. I was with my son, and he knew my son from the golf club. So my son saluted him, and he saluted back, and in the process, I had to say hello to him. So that was the last day I saw him. That was the last day I spoke with him at a Rotary function, and there are pictures to that effect, I'm sure.
No. So.
And also, Chair, now that the Honorable Member of Parliament was talking about the time, me being poor with keeping time as if I have to be looking at the watch all the time. Chair, I was captured on TV, I don't know which TV station, talking to Mr. Valera. So that was the time when I was actually whispering to him what had happened. So you may go back to the footage of the funeral on that day.
Sorry, so you had contacts of the former Vice President, obviously. So for me, it's not apportioning blame, but this particular moment for me was a turning point. If somebody had heard your views, okay, this flight could have been averted. That's my point. So don't take it personal, okay? This flight could have been averted because certainly something was amiss. So I'm questioning why didn't Joshua Valera call SKC, look, the advice here or the condition here, the views here are not favorable, okay? If somebody had called the former vice president, maybe he might have had a second opinion about not proceeding with the flight. So I'm also asking, you were in contact with him on some occasions. Did you feel it necessary? Or was it not necessary for you to say, Bwana, you're proceeding, but it doesn't look okay? Was it within your realm of responsibility or as a friend? Did it occur to you that you could have done this?
Chair, obviously you said whether it was within my realm of responsibility, and the answer is negative. The Vice President has protocols. He had his own reasons to attend the funeral, and it was beyond my paycheck. I couldn't have done that.
Oh, thank you for that. Yeah.
Continuing, Brigadier General, was the late Vice President your friend?
Chair, how many times am I gonna respond to that question?
Thank you.
Yeah,
because you are.
But I can. Yes, I knew the late Vice President. We played golf together. We were friends right from University of Malawi, Chancellor College. Yeah, and he's a gentleman who I could call a friend. He attended my induction as president of the Rotary Club of Lilongwe. And just like several other officers in the Malawi Defense Force, he was a friend to several of us. I hope that satisfies your question.
Thank you so much, Brigadier General. No, we had to squeeze that out of you, so I'm satisfied.
But why would you like to find out that point, if I may ask, if I'm allowed to push back the question? Because it looks like it's of much interest to you, Honorable Member.
Now, Brigadier General, because I'm the one asking questions, you are not the one asking questions to the committee, so you follow my questioning. So I've asked this question, I'm going to the next question. So I think those are the matching orders. You are a witness, you answer the questions. We ask you the questions. Is that okay?
I need to find out the rationale, the raison d'etre of your question.
Thank you.
Because you don't ask questions that are not relevant, Honorable Member.
Thank you. So I've said, I'm asking questions, you are answering questions. Is that okay with you?
No, maybe.
I would only answer relevant questions, Honorable Member.
Can I come in? Maybe there will be a time when you'll be asked to make a comment or further questions. So it's not like you will not ask us questions if need be. So if there's a need for you to interact, maybe it may be too late, but you have a right to ask questions.
Obliged, Chair.
Okay.
So I think the friendship issue is now out of the way. But then, if he was a friend, I will still ask. You said the searching for the plane was secondary. You had gone there for a funeral. Was it still secondary, this one being a friend?
At what point?
I don't get that question. Can you clarify?
Now you're answering my question, yeah? All right, no, so it is not correct to say that it was not of paramount importance to be looking for the aircraft. If it was not, Chair, honorable members, I couldn't have contacted Major Snyder. Apart from the fact that this aircraft was a military aircraft, which we have also been using ourselves, I knew I had the responsibility of coordinating the return trip of the Kasambara family to Blantyre. So it was actually of paramount significance for me to find out the availability of the aircraft.
I think, Brigadier General, I'm talking about after I had known that the flight was missing. When I asked you earlier, you said, no, I had gone there for a funeral, not to look for the plane. So I'm now asking you, why in the north after you had known that the flight was missing, the aircraft was missing, which was carrying your friend? Did you find it maybe important to also take part in looking for the flight that was carrying your friend? That was the question. We're not talking about Blantyre or Lilongwe.
Obviously, yes. If I had my means, I could have, at that time, like I said, I think context matters, Chair. The question that you posed when I responded that I did not go to Mzuzu to be looking for the aircraft, because you asked me whether, why I went to the air. I think it was an honorable member from the who posed the question as to why I went to the airport, and I said naturally I had to start from the airport. If he was not at the airport, he was at the hotel, I could have gone to the hotel. Then you also wanted to find out why I did not participate in the search, and I said at the time I was leaving Mzuzu, I did not know where the aircraft was. So I didn't even have anywhere else to start the search from. But also, look, I said that I had a specific role. And my specific role, Chair, was to coordinate for the Kasambara family. Issues of search and rescue were not within my responsibility. In as much as a military officer, I have to take part, but General Chikangawa was now tasked to be in charge of the search and rescue operation. So I couldn't just interfere with his duties.
No, I take that, Chair. Finally, the time of going, you were passing through Mzuzu. You went to the airport to collect the 5 million kwacha. I think other submissions from other witnesses around 6 o'clock, somewhere there at the airport, there was a lot of activity, 5, 6, a lot of activity at the airport. Did you see anything that would suggest that there was something happening there? People converging, we were told that the police and other people also converging at the airport, people from the UTM party. You collected the 5 million, but you did not suspect anything around the airport. Is that correct?
It is not correct, Chair. Obviously, we knew that the gathering at the airport was either waiting for the landing of the aircraft or indeed coordinating the search and rescue operation.
Follow up. So you did not have time to ask these people who are coordinating the search and rescue to say what is happening, where is the search starting from, in case they had leads that could also help you to join the search?
Chair, I told you that as a military officer, I can't just start searching anyhow without orders, right? And I told you, Chair, that with regards to the search and rescue operation, the commander on the ground was General Chikangawa, who is a competent military officer. My role was to come back to Lilongwe, and I was consistently in touch with the Air Force commander because of my specific responsibility of coordinating with for the Kasambala family. And for me to take part in the search and rescue, I had to either be given orders by the authorities in the Defense Force. Alternatively, if I wanted to join the search in my personal capacity, I had to seek authorization from the authorities in the Malawi Defense Force. I hope that clarifies your convoluted question, Honorable Member.
It does, Brigadier General. Thank you, Chair.
Brigadier General, while on the search and rescue, on your conversation, exhibit KD2, the second page. It's just out of curiosity, nothing else. There's a message there from Colonel R. Ismail, and then forwarded messages from Kevin Wells, and then Harrison Wells for Zoe. These guys have infrared drones for search and rescue. The time there was 22:54. So I'm wondering, was this information used in the search and rescue? Because we heard that there was a drone later on. Did it arise? Did the drone surface because of this conversation? Just out of curiosity. But there's this conversation. These guys have infrared drones for search and rescue. It came in late in the middle of the night, but the plane was eventually discovered in the morning. Did this drone, this conversation, facilitate any role?
Now, thanks so much, Chair, actually, for reminding me of that conversation. I hope your vice will be able to see that, to see the kind of assistance that I was rendering in the background. So I got a message, I think, from one of the students from the Malawi University of Science and Technology, or one of the acquaintances who sent me those contacts to say these guys may help in search and rescue operations. So I sent that text to General Ishmael to assist him in the coordination of the search. I must have also sent it to my colleague, General Jagona Panji. Because, look, it was a whole all hands on deck operation. We had to ensure that we find the aircraft, the missing aircraft, as soon as practicable. So that's why we had to involve everybody. So to answer your specific question, Chair, I don't know whether General Ishmael used those contacts.
Thank you, General. There's Mayani.
Thank you very much, Chair, for allowing the people of Dedza Mayani to ask a question to the Prof. First, let me express that yours is, I agree with the Chair, is one of the most detailed presentation, and you tried your best to make it as easy as possible for all of us to follow. But looking at your previous roles, I am understanding that you were the commandant of the National Defense College. Is that so?
Correct, Honorable Member Dedza Mayani.
When was that?
I was commandant of the National Defense College from August of 2022 to December of 2025.
Oh, so it's very recent. I just wanted to understand about if you were given either provided with a vehicle and as a commandant, were you provided with a vehicle and the fuel, and how was the fuel provided to you for that vehicle? I just want to learn on that one.
Yes, I do have an official vehicle, and I've also used it here. The fuel is paid to me by the Malawi Defense Force on a monthly basis. So, and if I have specific trips which are not provided for in my monthly budget, then I have to requisition from the Joint Force Headquarters.
So I just wanted to get your operational issues. So for me, I just wanted to understand how you operate. In that manner, then it means the army, of course, where you are, you don't use fuel cards, or what's the payment method necessarily when it comes to fueling? I just want to understand that.
It depends. Like in my case, it's factored in my salary. So I get it through my salary. But I know my other colleagues have fuel cards. I also had a fuel card at some point. Yeah, by and large, that's how we do it. Rarely we use cash to buy fuel, but depending on circumstances, sometimes you have fuel shortage in filling stations, so they can give you cash to buy the fuel.
Chair, I do understand that a military craft cannot necessarily buy mafuta munchigugu or something of that nature. So that's why I'm a bit more curious, because when you get the story about the fuel money, it is coming in cash. So I am trying to see how the fuel for the aircrafts are done. Does the donor have a fuel card, or how is it being fueled, and how is the payment being affected? Why am I having that at the back of my mind? Is the idea to say, there are questions to say the fuel tanks were empty, and the BFU report says this was a controlled drive into flight into a terrain. Okay, in my own assumption as a layperson, according to the BFU report, it's like the pilot was trying to land or to get somewhere, but the circumstances surrounding him to get there, no one knows. But the BFU report says that. That is why I want us to go beyond what we already know and try to get some other angles. And what you have presented today about the fuel, now I'm questioning if this trip is coming from Zomba and you are going to Mzuzu, and the fueling, I think, was supposed to, because at Mzuzu there is no jet fuel, so the fueling was supposed to be done at Chileka, but the money is not at Chileka. So I'm now starting to see something out of all this story, and now even the money was not paid for the fuel. So as a committee chair is also to find out how was that bill covered with Puma, and how can we confirm that it was really covered in that manner. And then we have to dig back into how the previous fuelings were done for the donor, so that we can find a trend in between. So, Brigadier, thank you for the expression on how you are operating there, that others have cards, sometimes you use cash. It's just a protocol issue, and trying to now to start to relate the BFU versus what was found there, why was there no fire, and all that. We are all not conclusive, and we are trying to find out, because none of us was there, and those are the questions why we are here. Thank you, Chair. I stop there.
If you may allow me just to put a footnote to whatever I said. Number one, I don't think I'm competent to explain how fueling issues are done in the Malawi Defense Force. You asked about my official vehicle, so I responded to that question. But also your point assumes that the fuel, the aircraft did not have fuel. Why did it in the first place fly from Zomba to Blantyre, and then Blantyre to Mzuzu? So I just wanted to highlight that, Chair.
I know, Chair, I didn't want to come back, but Prof, what I just wanted to say is I want to understand the institution of fueling issues, so that we also follow a trend, because the fact is, one, the BFU report and whatever was observed, the fuel tanks had no fuel at the site when they were doing, of course they were cut, burst or whatever, we can say whatever. But the issue is I'm trying to follow the protocols when it comes to fueling. That's why I asked your own practical experience, so that I compare it with what we are looking at. I don't want that to say we are not. I was not referring to you about the airplane. That's what we will call again the officials and whatever were necessary. But what is the fact is people were questioning, and that's why we are here. Why did it not catch fire? There could be lots of reasons and all that. But for me, my own interest is to say the fuel money was not paid in Blantyre or at the time the flight was happening. So we want to see the trend, what happened at Chileka, what happened the following morning and all that. So it's just it's an investigation. We are not concluding anything. I did not say, that's why I came back, I did not say that the plane, by the time it was in Mzuzu, had enough fuel, or when it was departing Mzuzu or departing Lilongwe. None of that. I was just trying to look at those protocols. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your insights. I think we're not there yet to make some analysis and conclusions, but you have made a very useful insight that we need to examine in this course of the investigation. Yeah, but not particularly for the interest of the witness that is here. Yeah, so appreciate it. I'm not too sure. Are you suggesting that Brigadier General, when he was taking the money, he assumed the money was to buy fuel?
Yeah, that's my assumption, because if the first payment was done, I guess there was a presentation by one of the officers which said it was for fuel. I think that was Council Wapona Kita, who said the money was supposed to be for fuel. So I'm trying to follow from that angle, whether the military had its own fuel and this would be a reimbursement or what, that we will learn later on. But I just want us not to ignore that fact and make a follow-up as we are doing this. Thank you.
But I think maybe he needs to respond.
No, Chair, K1 has answers to that, my exhibit K1.
Yeah, K1 has the total cost for fuel, which is 5.1 million kwacha, and you were carrying 5 million kwacha. So, is that the answer that you are referring to?
No, the answer is that the purpose of the money that I had collected, the breakdown is on that invoice that we sent to the Kasambara family.
No, thank you for that. Any further comments? Can I take Zomba Tonde? Hasn't interacted.
Thank you so much, Chair. And good morning once again, Professor. Maybe, Chair, I raised my hand on I had a supplementary, so maybe I'll just connect it with my other. I have one question, but on the previous one. Professor, I just wanted to confirm if you spent, like, where did you spend your night on this tragic day?
Thanks so much, Honorable Member from Zomba Tondwe. I went back to my house in Area 43. So I left Area 43 on Monday. I went back to Area 43 on the same day.
I'm referring to the day of the aircraft crash, just to confirm.
Yes, Honorable Member, that was on the 10th of June.
Thank you so much. I was looking at, it may look like I'm repeating, but just to stress something different, I was looking at when you are assisting Mr. Valera and the Mwale on the procurement of this flight, you personally called the Air Force Commander. In short, you showed interest to support, and maybe why I was asking where you slept was like, I expected you to show the same kind of interest in this case now that there's a crash, but you've already commented, so I may not expect you to maybe elaborate more. It's just something I wanted to add on that one, Chair. And the two, I wanted you to confirm that when these people, Mr. Valera and Mr. Ngale, when they came to you, you wanted clarity on which commander of the three relevant commanders. And when later you called Brigadier General, was it Major General? I'm not so sure, but Ishmael, he indicated that he had no information, so he did not know. From that perspective, I wanted you to confirm that the commanders, out of the 3 relevant ones, the commanders who knew of the arrangement, we are looking at the commander-in-chief and the CTF. Just to confirm that the Air Force commander did not have any, never had any prior knowledge of this. Just for you to confirm.
Yes, and I think my script is clear on that note, Honorable Member. So I identified those 3 commanders, and I was now going in the ascending order. That's why I had to start with the Air Force commander, and our conversation ended there.
No, that question I'm asking you for the sake of this committee, because we've had other witnesses, and surely we may be having others. But I wanted Chair you to note that his testimony is that in this case, Major General Ishmael was not part. So we are looking at the possibility of the other ones. I submit. Thank you.
Any questions? There's Agostino.
Chair, I was trying to get some documents, but I think I'll just speak to it. Once again, it's afternoon. Good afternoon, Prof. I have only a quick 3 questions must be. First is to say that I think just to confirm that you were a member of MDF Board of Inquiry, which did some investigation to the clash. Is it true?
Affirmative.
Okay. All right. So I'm not so sure if you can speak to the finding of that inquiry.
Negative.
All right. Fine. Let's go to your presentation, page 8. You have used the word limited search capability. Then, that was then available at MDF. That's why I was asking you, being one of the board of directors in that inquiry, if there was any recommendations to capacitate that we don't have the limited, but we have quite a vast, good capabilities if anything happens in the future. Can you speak to it, or still negative?
Honorable Member, if you want the MDF Board of Inquiry report, I'm sure it's going to be made available. You see our findings, our opinion on the findings.
All right.
You also see the recommendations there.
Thank you, Prof. Your bread number 7. When you let me commend you because you had seek some services from Major Benjamin Snyder, and he told you that no, the information was sufficient to initiate efforts to locate how did they help after providing the information. I think you haven't. I was checking your comprehensive report. It's negative on what did they do after seeking their help.
At that point, when I was engaging him, the information had not become public. And then soon after, it was made public. I think the government had issued a press statement. So in a state of chaos, I couldn't even go back to him. What was important at that time was to find the aircraft. So whoever had relevant information at that time could have provided it. So I did not go back to him, and he also didn't come back to me, because now everything was public information, Honorable Member.
Okay. On post-Eastern financial clarification, there are issues of 5 million, which my honorable colleagues are asking. On Thursday, 13 June 2026, can you come? 2026.
Sorry, my submission indicated 2026, but it's 2024. Chair, you may need to correct that. My sincere apologies on the dates.
With your permission, yes.
Then The Air Force commander instructed you to deposit. I want you to confirm that the 5 million, you are saying 2,105,000 you deposited into Malawi Air Force Command because the funds represented allowances to the crew. Correct?
Correct, Honorable Member. If you look at the invoice, it is also indicated that, and that's also what the Air Force commander told me.
So this was not the fuel money, but it was for allowances.
So the estimate or the quotation, which is K1, has a breakdown of everything, and that we submitted to the Kasambara family. I'm sure the Air Force commander or Major Kalinga may also have brought it as an exhibit. So it has a breakdown of the purpose of the respective sums of money.
Chair, I think that's all for Benzagasina. Just to say that I was asking that because I was looking for that documentation. Chair, if you remember, Major Kalinga had indicated that they pay fuel using the check, and they paid through the check the fueling. That's why I was asking that he must confirm that the money was for allowance for the crew as he has indicated. I submit, Chair.
No, thank you very much. We don't want to go backwards. I think we've gone through, the quotation is clear. There's a summary there on the quotation. Aviation fuel, 5.1 million. Money for operational costs was 2.1 million. Allowances, 2.1 million. So we don't want to go back there, but he has been kind enough to provide us with all documents. Brigadier General, this has been very thorough work from you. You've demonstrated that you're indeed a prof in law, a prof in what you do. I particularly like your presentation. You've made my life much more easier to ask for us to ask you questions, because they say the devil is in the detail. The devil is in the detail. But here it was very clear. We were able to pick up, issues that we should interact with you. So we appreciate. I'm sure members have exhausted everything else that they wanted to ask. Others are conflicted, so we respect that. We may have ably represented them in the exchange, but you responded very well, Brigadier General. Do you have any final comments or questions, lingering questions that you wanted to ask?
Yeah, Chair, just to underscore one point, that it is not us who requested the Kasambara family to give us the cash. Ordinarily, they could have deposited it into the Malawi Air Force account. But that's how they were mobilizing the funds. That's why we had to carry the cash. So I think that clarity is required, Chair.
Well noted. Well noted.
Thank you for allowing me to also present my side of the story. As you may have indicated, Chair, the late Vice President was a friend to many. We lost senior government officials who were acquaintances. I lost, just like other colleagues, senior military officers who flew us, who were dear colleagues. So the nation lost patriotic citizens. So I thank you most sincerely for allowing me to present my side of the story. I hope it has been presented and received in the manner in which it was intended. Chair, I just wanted to take this opportunity to also explain my personal side, that there are some conspiracy theorists, Chair, who are spreading false rumors, allegations, Chair, which are serious, that some of us actually murdered our colleagues. Chair, I would respectfully request that you need to find a way of stopping this, because it is the mandate of your committee, Chair, that will establish what happened. In as much as personally we have other means of getting these individuals to book, but we need your support, Chair, because spreading false rumors, we have mothers who are advanced in age, we have children who are young. You said the late former Vice President is a friend. The widow is still around. The children, they know us as uncles. So, Chair, to allow unpatriotic citizens to be spreading false rumors it is not okay. I sincerely request for your support. Chair, some of us have fought twice as hard to make the names that we have today. For somebody to destroy other people's names just because they are high on cocaine, that shouldn't be allowed, Chair. My sincere apologies for being emotional, but I had to say, Chair, we are all patriotic citizens, we are all law-abiding citizens. Please support, please help. Otherwise, honorable members, honorable Chair, keep up the good work. Let's get to the bottom of this issue. It is in our interest of not just yourselves, but all of us. I thank you so much for allowing me to have this opportunity.
No, thank you, Brigadier General. Just to assure you that as Parliament, we have a duty and the responsibility to defend and protect the witnesses that are going to come here. So even every information that you have disclosed here, we have a fiduciary responsibility to safeguard your life, your future. So we will not in any way or under any circumstances accuse any wrongdoing. That's not our duty. And we will not allow other people to come and attack witnesses, because others will also start shunning away. So we share your sentiments, Brigadier General. We will discuss on how this matter can be handled as a team. But just to appreciate your cooperation and the discourse we've had. And we wish you all the best. May God bless you. You may take leave now. Thank you.
Hello and welcome to Healthy Living here on Times. I am your host, Florence Mwale. This program comes your way courtesy of MASM.
Life is an up and down journey where anything can happen at any time. But at any time, you have peace of mind with MASM. MASM offers all-inclusive affordable medical aid cover in various packages of schemes in line with your budget, with a promise to take care of you and your family in that time of dire need. From giving you access to medical services at hospitals locally and abroad, emergency evacuation, dentist, and optical care, all the way to funeral benefits. MASM is there holding your hand, keeping you covered. For details of the medical scheme you need, call 01-820-298, 01-820-543, 0888-707-100. Fax 01-820-217. Email infodesk@masm.mw or visit www.mazim.mw. Mazim, your ultimate healthcare solution.
This is Healthy Living here on Times with me, Florence Mwali. My guest today is Dr. Gordon Banda, and he's from Mazim Medic